Are women used as voting cattle in the ANC? How much influence does the ANC Women's League have on ANC policies? And does the ANC Women's League have the capacity to radically transform women's socio-economic rights? And is the ANC Women's League going to campaign for a woman president? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Motshekga. The African National Congress Women's League recently held its national policy conference under the theme Radical Transformation of Women's Socio-Economic Rights. Besides dedicating the event to the rich legacy of the late champion of women's rights, Ms. Angie Motshekga, the League's president acknowledged the gloomy picture of women's socio-economic status. My guest today is the ANC Women's League President, Angie Motshekga. Welcome to the show. You went on and on about Angie Motshekga at the conference.
I think she's one of the greatest that we're blessed with as this country. She's one of the greatest women I think we've ever had.
What are women of today supposed to learn from Angie Motshekga?
That you must be well-rounded as a person. You study and achieve. You become part of your community, either through your social work. I mean, she was a social worker, she was in juvenile courts, she was a gender activist, she was a politician, she was at the founding conference of the ANC, extremely well-rounded and a gifted artist also. We're told that she sang quite, so she really was a highly rounded person, worked hard wherever she was and gave of herself the best that she had.
Let's look at the conference. I mean, the theme itself, radical transformation of women's socio-economic rights. Just talk to me about that. Why this is very radical itself?
Nompo, we've really made lots of progress as a country. We, in every facet, in terms of representations of women, in terms of presence of women in the economy, women's skilling. So we're quite comfortable that we've made progress. But we think there's a need to start to really ramp up the progress that we've made. We think there's now a lull. We're not making rapid progress as we did in the first 10 years. In the past 5 or 15 years, the progress has really been lull and quite slow. There are areas where we think there's urgent need to act, especially gender-based violence, but also economy and poverty. We still think that there's a lot of work that we need to ramp up if we are to turn women's lives around.
Now, you had like 5 key issues, which I suppose were the reason why you gathered there to adopt some resolutions which are going to be recommendations for your conference, for the conference next year?
No, what we did for the policy conference, we prepared 2 types of papers. We had a broad, what we called your concept paper, which was our book 2. It went on the theory. It was already more on theory, but on all other areas that affect women. So it was on the gender theory, what the trends are international, around just the gender struggles. It also went on to touch areas which were not in the focus papers. It spoke about women in ICTs, it spoke about women in the world. It touched on all other areas that affect women. And then as the NEC, we agreed to say, let's take only 5 focal areas separate from the main document. So commissions will have discussed other things also, including your ICTs. So then we focus on 5 areas which women thought were really burning issues, and if we can get those right, we'll probably be able to do this radical transformation or ramp up our progress. So they said, let's focus on education, on health, on the economy, but also focus on questions of poverty and development, and more important, look at organizational renewal as a platform that we really have to strengthen if we are to achieve anything.
In your speech, President, you acknowledged that the picture is gloomy when we look at women's socio-economic status. Is this an acknowledgement of failure?
For us as a nation, because the challenges and the responsibility of empowering women, it's it's a national responsibility. It's a responsibility for men, it's a responsibility for us as women. So if there's any failure, it's a failure on all of us as a nation, because it is our joint responsibility. Even the ruling party, it says it wants a non-sexist. So they have committed themselves to that responsibility. Okay. Our own constitution binds us to non-sexism. So where it's gloomy, it's not gloomy only because women have failed. It means ourselves as a nation have failed women in areas where there are challenges. And I've cited gender-based violence as one of those glaring areas that, especially as a nation and as a world, we need to continue to do more work to protect women and girl children.
At the release of the SABC gender statistics, you quoted the statistician general, Badile Hosa, and I just want you to talk to us about the statement which says that happens because there is nothing to inherit from a woman and a lot to inherit from a man. Why did you find it important to quote such a statement, which I would suppose is not such a savory one?
No, it is. It's quite sad, actually, because in that report of stats, they're saying women peak, and which is a very sad, because it means they die at a very critical age, between 30 and 35, and half the time they die because of sometimes complications around childbirth, but also gender-based violence. Okay. And you will know, especially in African communities, maybe it's not savory to talk about it in public. When a woman dies, because things are in Mpo's name, so there's no big crisis. But if Mpo dies, then myself as a mother-in-law worried about my child's car, inheritance, and simply because men, because of the economy favors them, then they accumulate wealth, they accumulate things in their names. Correct. And as women, when you die, you're dead because you bury is the end of the story. But if you die, and who remains in the house, and the things becomes a big story. And that's what we're saying, that women's life is not highly valued. And that's why, because in that report, Buddy is saying even their deaths are not reported because it's not a big issue. And it's not a big issue because there's no money linked to it.
Okay. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, let's talk about the discussion areas: women and education, the economy, gender-based violence, and women and health. Okay. This is Question Time. Please don't go away. We'll return shortly.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
In all cities in Africa, there exists a unique and vibrant street culture which dictates the heartbeat of many cities throughout the African continent.
The city of Johannesburg is filled with vibrant scenes of hawking and selling.
This was from overseas. I think it's a donation from overseas now they're delivering to us.
Further up north, the same experience can be found as eager buyers barter with their hawkers.
The languages may be different, but the similarities are the one common thread that bind us all together as citizens of Africa.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays, 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
No people. De gleurmerk zijn kapst. Ja, de park is er. Kom.
Healthy food is not always the cheapest food option. And so making the healthy choices, the easier choices, remain a health challenge for South African children.
Bipolar disorder is said to affect 1 in 100 people.
Low back pain, the most common spinal disorder, affects about 8 out of 10 people at some point in their lives.
Back pain persists for more than a week or two. Seek advice.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutau. Watch Health Talk every Saturday on SABC.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is the ANC Women's League President, Angie Motshekga. Now, Motshekga, let's talk about women and education. What are the recommendations there of conference?
You know, the recommendations, in addition to restating what had been stated in the past, this time it was really focused around parental support to girl children. Because in the conference, even through the reports that were tabled, it's quite clear that at a certain stage, gender roles begin to impact on girl children.
Yes.
Girl children perform very well in lower grades because I think even in your own, most households, when girls wash dishes, boys wipe them. So the gender roles have not crept in. By the time they go to high school, boys have got boys' rooms, girls become the domestic worker, and you can even see in the performance of the girl children. Boys begin to overtake girl children. And we explained that to gender roles in the family. So the main emphasis was that it's important to conscientize families and parents about the need to support girl children throughout. Because in any case, it's a good investment to invest in girl children, which does not negate the importance of boys' education, but I say it's very important. And also career guidance quite early for girl children so that they don't take courses which don't allow them to be that which they want to be after they complete matric. So most of the emphasis was really on families, unlike in the past where most of the emphasis was on school and the state. But women acknowledge that there's a need to really conscientize and educate families more about the rights of girl children in education. You said that the ANC Women's League must encourage parents to attend parent-teacher meetings and to mobilize for meetings to take place in the evenings or weekends. Parents don't attend these meetings. If they do, they attend one or so, but it has been observed that black parents would rather take day offs to go and attend a meeting of a Model C schools. Whereas if Madibani calls a meeting, they're like, yeah, right, we'll see them. Those schools insist, and they really insist that parents attend. You sign a register. I've had my kids going to Model C schools. They put very strict guidelines. Even your child would really scream and throttle if you don't go to schools. And now schools treat their parents lightly. Yeah, there's no big deal if you've not come to school. So those Model C schools emphasize and insist on having parents coming to school. And it's very important that our parents need to know and understand what is happening in the system. The schools need to understand what is happening in the homes and help each other, because it really takes both the school and the home to work together to make sure that we get the outcomes. But if one part doesn't play game, then it burdens the other side and the results are not the best. So what also the Commission kept on emphasizing is the importance of getting parents to understand and appreciate the importance of them attending parents' meeting and guiding and supporting schools, because if schools are not performing, the most reliable people to know are the parents, because they're with the children every day. Inspectors can come once or twice a year. They will not be able to pick up what parents can pick up if they pay attention.
I think this is a personal observation that I've made. There are a lot of fly-by-night nursing colleges, right, which in effect are attracting young women. What is the Women's League going to do about this? Because these are mainly your black girls who come in looking for some form of education where they would be able to get jobs.
And taking lots of money from parents and unsuspecting young people. What we said, because what causes that, it's the limited space that we have in our nursing colleges, but also with the TVET. And that's why one of our commissions was saying we have to make sure that we work with higher education to continue to increase capacity for it to be able to train enough teachers, enough nurses. And the nursing one has really been the one that is hard hit by fly-by-nights. But the cause is because of limited access and limited opportunities for young people to train as nurses or in different health systems. I know the Minister of Health has even been working with private schools to create space for training of young people, either through public institutions and also private institutions. But the main thing is really around space. And that's why there's a space, there's room for all these fly-by-nights.
Now, the ANC Women's League members should mount campaign to encourage awareness and to ensure that sexual harassment policies are developed and strictly enforced at schools and colleges and universities. These policies are there.
They are there, and you know, it's quite sad, especially this year. There have been very sad incidents, strange enough, at tertiary colleges, where you expect young men and young women to intermingle quite in a very civilized way without any fear. But we've had the instance in the Val, and there have been too numerous to mention, and I think that's why women felt that we need to pronounce ourselves on this matter, that yes, policies are there, they have to be implemented, but more than anything for me, it's to raise awareness and consciousness around with boy children.
Mutilation of young women.
Yeah.
And all these other related practices. Ukutwala, you're saying this must be it. You no longer want to hear of this system of ukutwala and all that.
That can be correct. I mean, for whatever justification you give for it. Ukutwala, I mean, even the name, it means they carry you. So which means there's no consent on your part. And we're saying there can't be anything about you without your consent. So we say it's not even anything to explain or describe as culture. We just have to make sure that it just does not happen. Even the one you mentioned about mutilation, there's no need for it. And it should just simply stop. Our committees have to accept.
Are you going to be talking to the likes of your traditional leaders?
Because we have quite even lots of women, as members of the Women's League, who are traditional leaders themselves. They have to help us campaign just to have these things stopped. Because it's wrong practices in the name of culture. And we're saying, let's not explain it away. Let's just not have it.
Women in the economy, you do have some few multimillionaires.
I know, there's too few to count, and our concern is not really mainly about the multimillionaires, but it's to make sure that women are part of the economy.
But you see, Madam President, let me just interject there. Whenever people talk of women empowerment and all that, they're talking about sewing clubs, baking.
Exactly.
You know.
That's why we say we want to be in the mainstream of the economy. So if there's ICT, I mean, those women were even saying in the commission when they were reporting back, they say even this BBBE must have a W. That is broad base. Find a place for a W to say we just want to be in that broad base economic, not in your survival. We don't want to be left in survival economy. Of when it's harvest time, we can see with women with their braziers in the street selling meal. It's just sad when it's Christmas time, there's going to be women with mangoes, and half the time you can tell that mango does not even belong to them. There's a man who has a truck, puts them with the mango and gives them whatever a part of what they would have worked for. So they raise it quite strong to say we can't continue to be in that survival economy. We really want to be part of the mainstream economy. And if you have us, you can be sure, I mean, you know very well, we're very efficient. You can be sure of a growing economy.
Malbongo, on that note, we're taking a quick break. Please don't go away.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Zoom into Africa. This is Malawi. The president is Professor Peter Mutharika. Malawi got independent from the United Kingdom on 6 July in 1964. The population is more than 15 million people. One of Malawi's major languages is English. Monetary unit, Malawi Kwacha.
Let us go to this dolus issue, dolus eventualis and dolus director. What do they actually mean to the ordinary man in the street?
A practical and easy example of dolus eventualis is where two robbers walk into a bank with the intention to rob the bank. They reconcile themselves that should the teller press the panic button, they are going to pull a trigger and kill. So the intention is not to kill, but the intention is basically to rob the bank.
That's Rights and Recourse, Sundays 2 p.m. on SABC News.
Technology is all around us and is improving lives across Africa, like how young Nigerians are connecting to the internet. There are doctors finding new ways to save lives in Cameroon, and the South African public transport system that is now getting Wi-Fi. We have gadgets, apps and loads more, some of which play a big role in Africa's growth. A huge part of this African growth is technological innovation. To find out a bit more about social media and technology news from here in Africa and abroad, join me, Phumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. I guess today is the ANC Women's League President, Angie Motshekga now. Motshekga, organizational renewal. You are not attracting young women, yellow bones.
You'll be surprised that since our last conference where we had resolved to create a young women's desk, we have attracted quite a good number of them.
Okay.
But we're saying the future belongs to them. We should continue to encourage young women to be part of the Women's League and also influence the programs of the Women's League as part of their own future.
Yes.
We've had our shares, we've made it to be what we wanted it to be. So it's for them to come in, open up and occupy the space. And that's what we're saying. We've attracted quite a good number of them. Professional young women are there. They, as I say, come in, they're stilettos. It's been quite exciting to see quite a number of young women. They have issues, they don't like the pattern of the blouse, and we say, let's engage about the pattern of the blouse. It's not a big deal. Just come and be comfortable. Let's sort out those things.
So you want to stick to the 1959 one?
No, we're saying to them, I mean, come, we want to have it darts, make it with darts. We want to, because that pattern has got meanings. It's got V's for victory. So just keep the concept in place. Do it the way you think it will suit you. So no big deal. Just keep the theory in place about that blouse. So we've got those small issues, but they're coming in their numbers.
And you were not kind to those of us in the media when you said that there's been a narrow focus chosen by certain sectors of the media on the ANC Women's League's position on a female president, because you say that's a non-starter. Naturally, as women's rights organization, it is an issue you would support. Just talk to us about this. Why is there an issue about the president must be a woman, the president must be a man? What is it?
I just don't understand it also where it comes from. It could be that perhaps we leaked it. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, it's only a year. The current president hardly has a year in office. And then we're talking about his successor. And that's why I just find it very uncomfortable, because there are processes in the ANC of choosing president. You don't elect one, but the time before he's even sat on his chair, so you're already looking for another president. To start with, it's just quite wrong. Secondly, there are processes in the ANC that we know lead to those decisions. It's not anything that comes from the media. The media says women's president, then we have to jump on the bandwagon and be talking about women's president. We are champions of women's rights. Through the correct processes and the channels of the Women's League, we'll process that. But let it not be imposed on us and get us to get into a debate that we have not initiated. We have not initiated a debate on succession, because the succession is not only presidency. As the Women's League, which is an organization, we have huge interest in the secretariat. I mean, that's the heart of the organization.
Correct.
So why are people not pointing us to the secretariat? Because perhaps that's where we want to go. That's why I say they shouldn't impose discussion on us, because we might be interested in the secretariat.
Because actually, as the secretary of an organization as big as the ANC, you probably determine who goes where.
Exactly.
You are the chief deployer.
Exactly. So why are we told this is what we're... And that's why I said, don't feed us. We will initiate our debate at our right time through the right processes. Who said we don't want to be in the treasury of the ANC? Who said we don't want to be chairs of ANCs? All 9 provinces are chaired by men. All secretaries in 9 provinces are men.
Yeah, but you're voting for those men.
Exactly. That's why I say allow us to deal with our issues. We are aware where the problems are.
Women issues.
Don't tell us what we should be talking. We'll talk. If you want to talk about the women president, you'll hear from us. Don't tell us to talk about it. We'll talk about it at our time, and we will not put in position a president today, and before he's even settled on his chair, we're already talking about his success, and we just think it's a very silly debate.
Where did it come from? I mean, my colleagues didn't just pick it up from nowhere.
I suspect it's from you, and that's what I'm worried, because I only heard it from you. I've never heard it anywhere. I mean, in the conference, we had 5 commissions discussing education, organizational renewal, and we didn't tell them what to discuss. We had a discussion document. It also had sections which spoke about leadership. The mere fact no one in the 5 commissions pronounced on that, it means our women know what they want. They pronounced broadly to say they're going to look at strategic positions. They didn't pronounce themselves of women presidents, so which means it doesn't come from us. As I say, we had 5 commissions. We never spoke about it, so it doesn't come from us. On Sunday, the media, before we could even report on commissions, had headlines about decisions that we have not even reached. So I don't know where it comes from, because I read it in the paper. I didn't hear it at all in the conference. No one pronounced it. It's not
even a song. I mean, the tradition of the ANC is that when you want to hear something, the songs hear will tell through you. The song.
Exactly. Not even in a song, not in any of those 5 commissions, not in plenary, not in any reports. I saw it in the paper. So that's where I saw it. So I think it's a media-initiated debate.
Do you not like Cyril Ramaphosa?
No, it's not about me this time. So
well, the Women's League. Does the Women's League have a problem with the deputy president?
We like leadership of the ANC. Whoever is elected, even if we had not elected, it was not our choice. When they're elected, we rally behind them and support them, because they're in those positions not for themselves, but they're there because the majority of branches had chosen them and therefore have an obligation to support them. So it's not about them, it's about the positions. So we like the deputy presidency. So whoever is there, we like him. We like the presidency. Whoever is there, we'll support them. We like the secretariat. We like the chairpersonship. So it's the positions of the ANC that we respect and love, and respect the leadership that is in those positions. So we respect all of them. Yeah, we respect all of them, and we will always be obliged to support and treat them with utmost respect.
It is festive season. Christmas period is here. People spend even that which they don't have. Your message, perhaps, a quick one?
Let's make it family time. You know, the year gets too hectic. We're not able to build relationships. If at least by Christmas we can make sure that we mend or we strengthen family relations, that will be the biggest prize. So if it means you're spending on a goat or a sheep to bring families around, let it be. Let it just be merry, as long as we use them to build relationships. That's the only time we have for building relationships. So we shouldn't mind how much we eat it. If it brings us together, if the traveling brings us together, that's the spirit.
Okay. And our matric kids passing?
Just as tense as their parents, they have no idea. So we'll hear on the 5th. So we'll be announcing our results on the 5th of January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That was the president of the ANC Women's League, Angie Motshekga, and that was Question Time for today. Our email address, questiontime@sabc.co.za. Our Twitter handle @questiontime24. And you can also follow me on Twitter @Motshekga. You have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.